Hey, how's it going? So last time I was, I told that, I was just computing the API resource based on one single ID, but they can pass one or more IDs for question number two and three. So what I'm doing, I just refactored a little bit my application uh, where I'm just doing something like this. Instead of ID, I can have IDs. So if I have IDs, then I'll just have those IDs and I will check that if they are getting is array, then I have no problem. It's okay. Then I just get this filled as is. But if they are not, sorry, if they are not, then I will just do something like this. So this what I mean to say, so that will grab me one ID or comma separated ID or comma separated IDs. So what I mean to say is this: if I come here, so see how it is coming, ID 56, ID 58, that will come to me as an array. So ID 56, ID 57, the same parameter, if I repeat multiple times, ID is 56, sorry, this will be ID is 58, and so on. So how it will come is like this: IDs, okay, 56, 58, and so on. But if we do something like this, I think I already did. Okay, so if I do something like this, ID is 56, 58, 60, then it will come something like this uh, 50, ID 56 comma 58, like with a string with comma separated. Okay, 60, something like that. A string, it will come as a string. I mean, it will come like this with comma separated. So what we need to do, okay, we need to do is we need to just separate them with comma and check, okay, if they are not array. Okay, so even if there is a single element, that will come over here. Even if they're array, that will also come over here. So what I'm doing, I'm just looping through all the codes are same. Instead of returning one element for one ID, I'm just returning an array right now, because since I can get multiple, I mean multiple IDs instead of one ID. So I'm just looping through that for each, and rest of the code is fairly same, but I'm just pushing that. Instead of having one object, I'm just pushing the result, like 56 result will be pushed, then 58 result will be pushed. It's just an array I just added over here. So is it a better place to do validation like this? So I did not do validation yet. I might have to do something like that. If IDs, station IDs, um, or rather if not station IDs, then only I'll just then I will do like res dot status will be like 400, and I'll send a message that um, invalid invalid parameter. Okay, so this is all good. But I'm just saying that, is it a better place to do that? Because see, this method and this method, oh sorry, this method, both are taking IDs. Both has same kind of mechanism. So why not make it dry? Why not pull this code out of some place which will do the validation before even, come to this logic? So what is the place which can do validation before come to this logic? The answer is middleware. Okay, so we will pull the code in middleware. Before that, let me run the code real quick and show how it looks like. Just wait. Let me pause it real quick. So as you can see, the result came back and 56, 58, 60 give me a result like this: 56, 58, 60 with corresponding age groups, and the same for the other one. ID is equal to 56, ID is equal to 58, ID is equal to 60. If I do the same thing, okay, same kind of result. And if I pass just one ID, not that many, just one, so what will happen? Okay, good result. So all these are working. If I don't pass any ID, what happens? As you can see, it returned invalid parameter, which is nothing but this. So whenever I don't pass that parameter, it's invalid parameter. But what I am saying over here, that is this the proper place of doing that? Because I would like to do the same thing over here as well. So is this the proper place of doing that? My answer is no. Where we can do it? So we have middleware. We will create a validation middleware real quick. Let's see how to do that. As you can see over here, I registered some of the middleware, and middleware function I registered. So I want to pass over here some validator before I go to authentication. So if the data is good in query, then only I can go further. So I just created, while pausing the video, I just created a small file which is validation. So in validation, I'll just check, request query validator. Okay, request query validator. So what it will do, it will take a request and it will validate the query. First, let me tell you what happens. A middleware is nothing but a function like this function which takes rec race and it has next. Okay, next is just a callback to pass the middleware to the next middleware. Okay, so now this is middleware. Now, but I want to pass my parameter which I want to validate over here. Okay, I don't want to make it very hard coded. Like I don't want to, do like rec dot id. What if I am looking for if rec if not equal to rec dot id, then only then I just send a bad request or something like that. I don't want to do it like this way because this will make my program very much what you call coupled. Okay, I want to pass the parameter which I am interested to validate. So what if I just created a function, okay, which will return, I mean, I just create a function which will export for sure. So what if I would create a function which will take the field I want to FEIL the or param, sorry, param I want to validate, okay, and then what happens, it will return this thing. So what I mean to say, I'll just tell you. So what will happen, what was happening in normal middleware, if we see the auth, I was just I was just having this function, right? Instead of that, I want to return this from a function which is a top level function. I want to return this thing from a function. So what is the benefit of that? When I am here, I would just call before that I will just call middleware dot validator. Right now I was passing the function, right? And it would execute automatically. Right now I would not pass the function. Rather than I would get like let's say validator, and then I would pass what I want to validate, let's say ID, okay? And then this function, it will return something like this, okay? This function will return something like this, okay? This function will return a middleware. So after validation, okay? So I mean this function, why I created, just to pass this ID. Otherwise I would just create a normal middleware like this, okay? But the problem with a normal middleware is if I go here, I have the request object access where I can check the ID is valid or not, but I cannot pass extra parameter over here. Only rec res next is there. But see this validation parameter, a validation function, I can pass a parameter over here. So based on that parameter, I can do a validation over here. That's the difference. So let's code real quick. The request dot query, I'm validating query string parameter query, and if that query doesn't have this guy, whatever it is, so this function I created just to pass this, okay? Otherwise I would just write this much, okay? But if I would just have this function, if I would have just have this function, then the problem is I had to mention ID and I had to create multiple, multiple middleware for multiple validation. I don't want to do that. So if this is valid, then only I pass to the next. Okay. Rather, if this is not valid, okay, I just say that okay, this is not valid. So I would just res.json, okay, res.status. The same thing what I was doing in trip controller, I want to do the same thing over here. So I think there was this validation and I want to just copy paste it over here. What validation I was doing over there. So see, if I would have created only middleware function, I would have access to this rake. Okay, but the problem is at that time I would have to do like rake dot query dot this. I don't want to do that. I don't want to make it very you know coupled. Okay, that's why I created the outer function, which will have, I mean by closure this has the access to this param. So instead of that, right now I have this. Okay, so this query, this parameter is required. Okay, so I would just change the message a little bit. So this is my middleware. Okay, I mean this is my middleware which is wrapped in another function. So now what will happen? I'll just return it, and then I will of course get this middleware. So I'm just copy paste the same thing over here. Sorry, I will just expose this module through my index file. Right now what will happen, this validation, I can get it over here very easily. Dot validation, and then I would say that I want to validate ID. For this one I want to validate ID and I want to validate IDs, not ID. Okay, and then I want to validate another thing. Okay, so I want to validate comma date as well. Okay, they has to be, I mean they have to be there. So for the next function I want to validate only this one, IDs. So if I come here and if I do that, so my validation is done. And now if I run the code, let's see what happens. So as you can see, after running the code, it's returning me the same result. that invalid because